What lawful basis was there for you to ask for her ID?
I don't know.
What lawful basis was there for you to demand her ID?
I don't know.
What lawful basis was there for you to put her in handcuffs in response to her not giving you her ID?
I don't know.
In order to detain somebody, what do you have to have legally? Do you know?
I do not know the law legally.
Okay. Doesn't there have to be reasonable suspicion that the person committed a criminal offense or violated a law?
As I don't know the law exactly.
You don't know when an officer is allowed to detain somebody?
I've got one that can see.
Please turn off all cell phones or place them away from the microphones as they can interfere with the deposition audio.
You guys are lucky today. You're going to love this shit. 2 sheriffs arrested Pink Camera Magic years ago, and she just released the 2 depositions, and they're going to blow your mind. In this vid, you're going to see 2 cops show astounding ignorance of the law. These 2 cops alone represent nearly 50 years of law enforcement training and tax dollars, so let's see what we get for our money.
Is it against the law to take pictures of a courthouse from outside?
No, not that I know.
Okay. Is it lawful to arrest somebody for taking pictures outside of a courthouse, of the courthouse?
No, not that I know.
Okay. Is there something
Keep your voice up, please.
Okay, sorry.
It's not going to get every word because it's on video.
Okay.
Are you familiar with this case at all?
Which case?
The case that brings us here today, that you're testifying in?
Yes.
Okay, and in a nutshell, what's the case about?
I would say that Amanda is, I guess I called you to say that she was outside videoing when she shouldn't have been. So she's saying we violated her amendment rights.
You're correct. When you say when she shouldn't have been, what does that mean? Was she doing something wrong?
Just something unusual, what us as officers would consider unusual.
Unusual, okay. Depending on where you are in the country, Mormons are unusual, right? Depending on where you are, it might be unusual to see a Mormon. Do you get to detain Mormons in those places?
I don't know if people detain Mormons.
You don't have to speak
I don't know if they detain Mormons.
Would it be lawful? Just because it's unusual?
No, I don't.
Okay. Is there something unlawful about recording outside of a building?
I'm sorry, what was the question?
Let me ask you this. Was Miss doing anything illegal when she was detained?
No, I would say it was not illegal, unusual.
Okay. In order to detain somebody, what do you have to have legally? Do you know?
I do not know the law legally.
Okay. What would you do if one of those people said to you, what's the difference between arrest and detain? What would your answer be?
We'd call legal.
Mr. Gorman, seated to your left?
No. Sheriff has their own legal.
Oh, okay. Their own legal who helps them understand things like the difference between arrest and detain?
Yes.
Gotcha. Was there a lawful basis to handcuff her?
Yes.
Okay, and what was that lawful basis?
Officer safety.
Gotcha.
So far, we got 2 Cook County sheriffs, and one's been a lieutenant for 22 years. And between them, they got to call a lawyer to know the difference between detainment and arrest. Let that sink in. If they don't know basic laws, then what are they being rewarded for? They don't give a fuck about the law. Their proclivity is to follow orders. Identify Pink at all costs. Hell, it helps if you're willing to disregard the law.
Did you have any reasonable suspicion that she was committing a crime?
We had reasonable suspicion to ask her what she was doing and why she was doing it, just to get who she was and why.
You and I agree on that you had the right to ask her whatever you wanted to ask her. Did you have the right to put her in handcuffs?
Officer safety.
For the security of the officers, yes.
Okay. What made her a threat?
Her refusing to give any information that was requested of her.
Was she legally obligated to give that information?
When an officer has asked her for security purposes to give her identity up, yes.
Her refusal to ID is now being interpreted as a threat. And if you're a threat for my safety, I can now handcuff and ID you.
Yes, we do have the right to ask for an identity of somebody for our safety.
20 years of training has taught her that she is not safe unless she can run your name. And they both think it, and they're not exceptional.
Have you ever heard of something called a Terry search or a Terry frisk?
I have.
Okay, what is that?
I'm not going to say exactly. I don't know the law.
Okay. Well, let me just ask you this. A police officer is allowed to go over to anybody they want, demand to see ID, and if they refuse, they get to arrest them? Is that your testimony? Or detain them?
Can you say it one more time? I'm sorry.
Sure. Police officer goes over to somebody on the street. Let's call the person Mr. Plaintiff.
Okay.
Police officer goes to Mr. Plaintiff and says, hey, let me see your ID. And Mr. Plaintiff says, no. Is the officer now allowed to put Mr. Plaintiff in handcuffs and detain him?
I'm going to object. It's a hypothetical. It calls for speculation.
Yeah.
You can answer.
Okay. I do believe, yes, for officer safety, they do have the right.
Really?
Doesn't there have to be reasonable suspicion that the person committed a criminal offense or violated a law?
As I don't know the law exactly.
At least this chick is giving honest answers, saying she don't know. But this cat is desperately pretending he doesn't even understand the questions.
Okay.
If you could go back in time to the day that you arrested her, would you still arrest her?
So you're asking me if I can go back in time?
Yeah.
I don't know how I could do that.
Okay. Did you understand my question?
I did, and you're asking me to suppose whether or not I can go back in time. I can't.
So you can't tell me if you would still arrest her?
I can't tell you what would happen on that day if I went back in time, no.
Okay. Is this an attempt to be funny?
Not a bit.
Are you trying to answer my questions?
I'm trying to answer your question.
You really can't figure this out because you can't wrap your head around time travel. That's what you're saying?
Object. Again, I mean, I'm going to object. It's getting to be harassing again. I mean, is this what the question is? Hypothetical time travel backwards?
Is that really how you interpreted the question also?
Is that what you're asking? If he could go back in time, would he do it differently? Is that not what you're asking?
Yeah, that is what I asked him.
Okay, well,
I don't think that asks him to do time travel. Was there any reasonable suspicion that she was committing a crime, yes or no?
We weren't sure what she was doing.
Okay, so if you don't know what somebody's doing, do you have reasonable suspicion that they're doing anything in particular?
No, but we have a reasonable response to ask what she was doing.
Right. Agreed. You could ask her what she's doing. And when she refuses to answer, are you now allowed to detain her?
Yes.
Who told you this? That you get to detain people who are videoing and refuse to identify themselves when asked? Are you familiar with the Fourth Amendment, by the way?
Vaguely.
What does it say in your own vague terms?
No illegal search and seizure.
Right. Unless there's
Probable cause.
or...
Okay. That's about all I know.
Okay, all right, good enough. He said that's about all I know. All right, now, there was somebody else who asked you the same question that I just asked you about your familiarity with the Fourth Amendment, who's in this room right now. Do you know who that person was? My client. Ms. asked you that, didn't she?
I don't recall.
She asked you, are you familiar with the Fourth Amendment? You don't remember that?
No.
I talked to a lawyer.
Okay, call your lawyer.
That includes my camera as far as consent.
Well, it's already on.
You're familiar with the Fourth Amendment?
Oh, great. Why do we always get the crazy?
I don't know.
If I tell you that your answer was, oh great, why do we always get the crazies? Would you dispute that?
No.
Does that sound like something you would say to somebody?
That's something I did say that day, yes.
So you remember saying that?
Yes.
Okay. Do you remember saying that in response to the question, are you familiar with the Fourth Amendment?
No, I just remember saying it.
Why is it that you felt she was one of the crazies?
This part is great. The shit you hear Sheep parrot, just comply, don't poke the bear shit, this is where they get it from. He can't fathom that her will to stand on her rights outweighs her desire for self-preservation. Check this out.
When people act in a way that is not in their best interest.
How is she acting that was not in her best interest?
Well, at any time, all she had to do is identify herself. We could have done our report. You have an option. All you have to do is show us an ID so that we could do a report, and we'll let you go on your way. And everything could have gone the own.
And if somebody were to threaten you that unless you comply with their demands, they're going to put you in handcuffs, would you automatically necessarily comply with their demands?
Yes.
No, object.
You would.
Calls for speculation.
He was able to answer. So you would. So even if there's somebody who is acting as a law enforcement officer, giving you an unlawful order, threatening you with detainment or arrest or 90 days jail, if you don't comply with their unlawful demands, you would still comply?
Yes.
Alrighty. Is that what you expected her to do, to comply?
Yes.
Is there a law that requires people to identify themselves when requested by law enforcement?
I don't know.
30 years of training.
Did you delete her pictures?
No.
Who did?
Don't know.
You don't know who deleted her pictures?
No.
By the time you got in front of Judge Peter Felice, they were deleted, weren't they?
As far as I know, they were still on there.
You grabbed her camera
Yes.
away from her outside, did you not?
Yes.
From that point until you were in front of Judge Peter Felice, did she ever hold her camera again?
No.
Okay, so you had it the entire time.
Yes.
Didn't Judge Peter Felice talk to you about whether the pictures had been deleted?
He asked for the memory thing so he could delete them.
Whoa, I'm guessing the judge is going to want to dispute that. This is getting good.
Okay, you just said that he asked you for the memory card because he wanted to delete the pictures. Is that your testimony?
Yes.
Okay, and if he were to testify at some point in time that he absolutely, categorically did not delete those pictures, then would you want to change your answer as to whether you or one of your people did?
I'm going to object. Calls for speculation.
No one had custody of the camera but me.
Okay. Would it have been lawful for you to delete her pictures?
I don't know.
What do you think? Are you allowed to go over to people's pictures and delete them
No.
without a court order?
No.
All right. That would be a violation of which amendment? Do you know?
No.
In fact, you said to her that they take it not so lightly. It can either be an incident report or you can go to bond court. Remember saying that?
No.
I'm remaining
They
silent.
take it not so lightly. It can either be an incident report or you're going to go to bond court.
What do you do if somebody says they want to talk to a lawyer and you have them in handcuffs?
We allow them to call a lawyer.
Do you keep asking them questions?
It depends on the case.
Oh, I got you. Okay, tell me the case in which you would continue to ask questions of somebody in custody after they ask for a lawyer.
If we're doing an investigation, we're going to ask.
I got you. Okay. Do you know which amendment it is that allows people to demand a lawyer? Do you have any idea?
No.
Have you ever read anybody the Miranda rights?
No.
You've never read anybody their Miranda rights?
No.
Have you ever arrested anybody
No.
other than Ms. Berquist?
No.
And you don't know the Miranda rights?
Not offhand, no.
All right. When you arrest somebody, do you have to advise them that they have the right to remain silent?
Yes.
Do you have to advise them that they have the right to an attorney?
Yes.
Do you have to advise them that if they cannot afford an attorney, one will be provided to them?
Yes.
Okay. Now, what if somebody says, yes, I want to talk to an attorney? Do you get to keep asking them questions? Or do you have to call a lawyer for them before you want to ask any more questions?
I don't know.
You don't know? You don't know if you're allowed to keep asking questions of somebody in custody after they ask for a lawyer?
No.
How long have you been employed at Cook County Sheriff's?
27 years.
27 years. I imagine you only became a lieutenant recently?
No.
How long ago did you become a lieutenant?
22 years ago?
You've been a lieutenant for 22 years and you don't know the Miranda rights?
Yes.
What's your rank?
Sergeant.
How long have you been a sergeant?
I have been a sergeant 10 years. It will just be coming up on
How long
so
have you-
9.5 years.
How long have you been working for the Cook County Sheriff's Office as a law enforcement officer of some sort in any capacity?
19 years and 10 months.
What are the Miranda rights?
Our Miranda rights. I don't have. I would have to read them to you from a pre-written.
Okay. But you never told her, matter-of-factly, that she's going to go to jail for 90 days if she doesn't give you her ID?
I don't recall that, no.
Well, did you or did you not? Or do you not know?
I do not recall that.
Is that something that you would do and say?
No. We're going to probably take her in front of the judge.
Okay.
He's going to hold her in contempt for, I think right now he's doing 90 days.
Okay.
So, is that okay with you?
Remain silent.
Okay, but you realize you're going to go to Cook County Jail for 90 days.
Remain silent.
Okay?
Okay.
Now you have an option. All you have to do is show us an ID so that we can do a report, and we'll let you go on your way.
I have an option?
Yeah.
We told you that
Remain
before.
silent.
Because right now you're just obstructing and you're in contempt.
Obstructing what?
You're obstructing us from doing our job.
Remaining silent.
All right, cuff her. Let's get her purse.
Ken.
Get her stuff.
I don't consent to searches.
Well, we don't care anymore. Okay?
So, you could believe that these cops have skated by for 50 years, getting multiple promotions without knowing the basic laws that everyone here watching this video already knows. But you'd be wrong. This is why people without low IQs are not allowed to be cops. Because even if you were moral, which seems to be a prerequisite to be a cop, the law would check you and put the power back in the hands of the people. Shout out to Pink Camera Magic. I love you, girl. Y'all go over there and check out the full depositions. Link will be in the description as always, and you cats be easy.
You know what? Ken, let me hold on. Come on over here. I'm gonna get you. Hold this so she doesn't. I'm gonna get you a second here.